Hey, what's up, man? We're back. It's First Smoke of the Day, episode 67. And it's your boy Pac here with my co-host Blackleaf in the building.
What up?
And today's a special episode. We got Miss Anna from Cam in the building today, coming down from Sacktown. And this is a good one. This is real dope. We get to do this because this really goes back and Biggs' story right here. Cam was a part of the story.
Cam's been a part of so many people's stories.
Oh, thank you, man.
Absolutely.
I can't tell you guys how thankful I am to be here. You guys are part of the culture. And
Thank you.
As we get into Cam's story, my story, just kind of being able to come back and look back and have someone like you or, it's really nice. Thank you. I appreciate
think it's dope because most people don't know that Cam originally stood for Colorado Alternative Medicine. They were one of the leading cultivators for top shelf flower in all of Colorado. If you knew top shelf flower in Colorado, the name of Cam was always in the 1 or 2 spot. And if it was in 2, it was because people were being biased. It was literally
thank
fire,
you, man.
nonstop fire. 60 to 70 different. Picture walking into a dispensary, right? Left side, was it indica or sativa left side?
Left was sativa, and then indica's on the right, and hybrids in the middle.
Dude, and you could pick any one of the jars, and it absolutely top nugs, beautiful, trimmed perfectly, cured perfectly. And when we talk about top shelf, it was all small batch.
It was because at that time you could grow, 15, 20 different strains in a room. And it would be kind of like the deli store, which is when do you run out? When you run out of weed. When you close the store? When you run out of bread.
Yeah.
So it was a different time. Also, there's no distributor model in Colorado. So I would come like Santa Claus with a big black bag of 20 different strains. As soon as it was ready to go, we trim it, cure it for a little bit, and then just our warehouse was across the street. Just drive it over. So, and then at the same time, we got to meet really amazing cultivators because we couldn't, I had at the time 4 8-lighters. And you were basically putting all your boys on. So everybody that grew OG, Chem 4, we met Chris, who you brought on Presidential Kush, Juicy Fruit,
You
Flow.
guys had every strain.
We had we would put, Flow by, Pop. It was great. And Brady. It was such a special time because even I get up every day and I'm so excited to go to the warehouse. I'm so excited to be able to be doing this every day. But there was something special between because it was all home growers. So everybody that had been growing herb in 2003, 4, 5, and had really gotten their craft together, and a store opened in 2009, kind of the for us, by us model. Right, growing and talking about cultivating, people from Overgrow, ICMAG, right? All those folks came together for kind of the beginning of the medical market in Colorado. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, there was nothing like it.
Yeah,
It's the beginnings for the U.S.
Yeah, you were the beginnings for the U.S.
Yeah.
And being able to take something I still to this day don't see much is being able to take small batch flowers, stuff that you would be oh, this came out of a 12 lighter or a 6 lighter.
Yes.
And being able to scale that to where you guys, I think at the upward bound, 600 lights somewhere around there, or how many 400 lights?
We had at the very end, we had almost 1140 because we had Peoria 200, and then we had Ironton. That was the 40,000 square foot warehouse.
Wow.
All HPS, all small 40 light rooms. We had 1 million rooms. It's interesting because you build these big scale and you weren't thinking of efficiency. All you're thinking about is how am I going to control the room the best way I can. So I know one of the warehouses, I had 8 light rooms. Nightmare commercially.
That small batch mindset, man.
Yeah.
And that's something we talk about a lot. Pat Gods and myself is just keeping the quality. How do you scale it with keeping the quality? And it's the most difficult part.
It's really hard.
You guys had it though.
Thank you.
You 100%.
And it was all about the team though. I had the best guys and everybody came to support that. And so we would, the other thing is that I paid $4,000 for the weed, if not more, 4,500. And I always paid on time at the time. I never made people wait. I never made guys wait because I just knew you need to buy really expensive, whatever you're on, House and Garden, Canna, whatever, you were on at the time, you got to buy that stuff for your next run. You got to pay your, you got to go over to your buddy's house to trim, or they're not going to come over to your house to trim. So
that's old school.
Oh man, I got to go over to.
Yeah.
I really don't want to today. I've worked all day. I really don't want to go and trim. His weed's not as good, but like I'm gonna go over there because I need that dude to come and trim my house weed. So
it was synonymous though that you guys were working with some of the best talent in Colorado. I knew that because it was like word passing amongst cultivators and hash makers and stuff. Like, yo, they'll actually pay for fire. Like that was,
and I never haggled, and I wasn't, now. Would I sit there and tell you if it was wet or whatever it is? You guys never had that, but like, but there were, it was all, you got to see, and I still think that's what's so important. We were talking about this before the show started, which is you got to get onto the market and smoke other people's stuff. You got to see what's out there and really appreciate all the product that's out there, because you're not going to get better if you're not looking at other people's stuff. You're just always going to sit there and be like, my stuff's best. And that's easy enough to do because everybody's working so hard on it, because you're in it, you need to step out of it. To
like a relationship almost.
Absolutely. Yeah. You don't know what you got till it's gone.
Ooh, man, don't hurt them. I mean, obviously we can talk about the old times and we'll get into that about how big and how epic things got. And when you name dropped a few people, these guys are like, big guys in the industry now. As far as like Brady's heading up, you mentioned Brady, he's heading
Florida.
up a massive Florida grow. I think something crazy, 40,000 square foot or something nuts. Yep. Chris is another one. He's actually my mentor you brought up, and he's someone who taught me how to grow. And another one of the most badass guys I know growing. But
and just human being wise, amazing human being.
Your flower is exceptional, and you have none of those people. So obviously it's carried. I mean, let's start it from the beginning. Where do we want to start? Is like, let's start it before you start smoking weed, because I know you have an interesting past. Where did you grow up and what was it like?
So I was a really interesting past. I was born in India, and my parents got their HB1 visas, and they said, hey, look, don't worry, we'll be back. We got to go. We're going to go set up in the US, and, very rural India. And it was tough, but at the end of the day, I keep saying, with everybody going through what they're going through nowadays, it's all about community and family, because you can be really poor, but you can still have so much. And, if you have family. So, came here when I was like 6.5, didn't speak a lick of English, got dropped in Queens. I'm like, this is interesting. It's pretty much the same as India. No, it was. I mean, Queens back then was not really gentrified. It was dirty as hell. I mean, and it was really hood.
Queens, New York.
Yeah, Queens, New York, and we lived in Section 8 housing. It was relatively pretty hard. But what I really noticed is that all the homies, all the OGs, the dudes that were moving weight, selling weed, that's who was really someone you could look up to in the community, because those people came back and gave everybody free stuff. I mean, so. Christmas, Thanksgiving, all those things were provided by people moving weight, people selling drugs.
Did you immediately, was it like you saw Queen and then was like, oh shit, there's weed everywhere? Or did it just like you were growing up normally?
No, not at all. No,
just
not at all.
Slowly started to infiltrate your life.
And also there was Section 8 housing, and growing up in those, it's really rough. And there's also a lot of other things, right? So there's a lot of crack during that time, and it was hard to watch people go through it. But we always noticed is folks that smoked herb, it was a culture, and they're the ones that were always solid. If you're doing a lot of other things, to each its own. I think smoking herb brings you back to who you are. It kind of gives you that.
Agree.
Yeah, it really does. And then it also accentuates maybe some of the stuff that you probably need to change, right? At least for me, it is. But then after, I don't know, maybe 7th grade, high times, 8th grade, I never wanted to drink alcohol. So I had to find something to kind of fit in Queens, New York. And it was herb. By the time I was 16, 17, I was delivering. If you ordered weed between 2nd and Gold and Murray Hill, I would show up after school, and you would buy 2 1.2 grams for $60 a piece. I delivered to anywhere and everywhere. I saw some shit that 15, 16-year-old kids.
Queens, New York.
Yeah. And up right up into Manhattan and everything. Wow. So just and I made good money, and it was a fun time for sure. But that's when I really noticed the weed that was coming from Cali was like completely different than brickweed, right? So, because they would sell it all the same. It was still $60 no matter what. It just depends on what batch you got. Because that's when like it was scarce, right? So, and everything was sour diesel, no matter what, like forever. Even
everything, right?
Everything was sour diesel. So that's what got me interested in, reading about res and res 2.5, just getting seeds. And when I actually started, which is like 10 years later, right? But when I actually started growing, you wanted to grow sour diesel. You wanted to, how do you get these kind of hype strains and what that means? But yeah, that was my start.
Culture shock must have been rough though. Going from India to Queens, New York, just food, lifestyle, people around you.
I was 7. I didn't speak a lick of English. I learned most of my English from like,
it's a good age though still, because it would have been later. Yeah. It's a lot harder, I think.
I know. Yeah. I feel like, and 13, I worked 14. On it. Yeah, dude. That's when, and it's hard. Like, then you're going to have like an accent. So it's really, really hard to, and I know people that came at 7, 8 and still have a pretty heavy accent. I think you have to work at it.
Is that where your work ethic comes from though? Through your family and your parents?
Yeah, for sure.
You grind, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you grind.
Yeah. Even when it doesn't seem like there's anything to grind for, I'm like, I still want, and it's because you don't know when the next opportunity is going to come. You have to keep yourself kind of ready for what is going to come. So I think that's what's been really moving for me coming to Cali. It's almost like a coming home. It's been good.
You got to be ready for the next opportunity. And sometimes when you close a door some other way, that opportunity is not going to come.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So then where does it go from there? I mean, let's walk down the path of life. So obviously, what was your first introduction to weed though? The first time you smoked it?
I was 13. Actually, it was a homie of mine was like, hey, you should go out and, try to cop some weed. So I went out into the world and tried to cop an 1/8, and I bought oregano. Yes, I did. For like with my hard-earned money, like straight up oregano. I had and so then I brought it over to my homie's house. I think, yeah. And he called everyone that I knew and respected to look at what I had purchased. And I thought I was going to get all these props. Like, yeah, I copped this bomb weed. It's green weed. I'm like, they don't even know where they saw this stuff. I'm thinking that it's weed for sure. And and I'm ready to smoke it. Right. So they all come over and then they tell me it's oregano.
Yeah, you're like, look at the color though. It's neon green.
So that's beautiful. When they rolled up in a blunt. Mm-hmm. I just hacked for like an hour, but that was the first time I smoked herb. But after that, like as soon as I smoked herb, that feeling that came over me.
You were smoking though.
Yeah, completely did. Yes.
What was that like?
I have no idea. It was probably like shit. Just taste. Yeah, terrible. And I think also, when I look at the environment, like especially for women, people always say that they had a bad experience smoking herb, right? It's because they probably smoked some swag, or they probably smoked something with that is just,
or too much,
yeah. Or that too, or too much, or
But shitty weed gives you a shitty feeling.
It does, yeah, it does. But it wasn't like, I wouldn't say it was that bad per se. It was just anything's bad compared to where we are today. Like the product that we get to smoke today, it's just I'm talking about collectively, obviously, in the last 10 years, is just so superior for anything you were getting.
It's funny because we started the convo talking about HPS and LED weed. Before we even hopped on the mic, a lot of the convo was like, because you're pulling out jars and we're seeing these big fluffy flowers. Yeah, try that hash hole. It's got my throat cranking though.
Smoking, huh?
I threw so much hash in there, it literally it's cranking my throat out right now. I probably have 1/4 gram in there, or 1/2 gram. The small batch that he's got and the way your flowers look, you can tell it's this HPS, beautiful, big structured nugs compared to some of the LEDs we've been seeing where it's just way tighter, and
almost like the bud's closing on in itself. But I also think, I'm not here to hate on LEDs, but all my spots currently are in HPS still. We're trying. So with LEDs, what I will say is that you have to build the entire room for an LED. So to retrofit an HPS room that's got quite a bit of ACs, and you have controllers too, right? So you have tons of AC. Yes, you have dehumidification, but not 30 or 40% more that you would need for an LED setup. On top of that, you're going to be running way higher ECs sometimes with LEDs, depending on what you're using for nutrients. So all that means you would have to have a different, an entire different mechanism, like more batch tanks, a different dosage on. So everything that's going to go into that. So just having the R&D spots has been rooms within HPS, a couple hundred lights in HPS. It may have one room for LEDs. It takes a long time to learn what's going to work and not going to work. Also strains. Lots of strains. Many variables with the LEDs.
Yeah. And I still, even dialed in, I still think there's some nostalgia of what buds looked like 10 years ago. We talk about this, and that, man, I think some of the clinging on of people like, why doesn't it look like that? Or why isn't it? I think it's the difference between the spectrums. Now, when we buy LEDs, every LED has a different spectrum. We used to all buy the same bulbs. We would all buy
Hortilux.
There you go. I didn't have to say it. So, I mean, the industry's changing at such a rapid pace, and you've been there from the get. That's what's interesting. I'm good. You could go. I got this one.
Hit her one time.
Which one is this?
The guava gas.
So guava gas by NorCal Nemo?
Yeah, with the rip tip.
With the rip tip.
Rolled to perfection. You gotta hold that one in.
Fire. I like it. Pack
guys. It's perfect. It's perfectly rolled.
Catch pack guys. If you catch him on the street, ask him what he's smoking on. He always got something brewing.
Man.
Something small batch, something that he tracked down from the hills and the valleys and the deserts.
I got so excited when I saw that weed right there.
He's always got something brewing. It's fire. The chocolate scalati, all kinds of crazy
Shout
shit.
out to Tanko.
Yep. And these rip tips just take it to a new level,
No, back to the story. You got an awesome story, by the way. Like, I'm already wrapped into it. Just got out of like 15-year-old you running deliveries around. What was high school like for you?
So high school, I felt like I kind of lived like two different lives. I was really good at math, and I wouldn't say it's hard being like a foreign kid, man. It's just, it's really tough. Like it's not like you don't make friends as easily, and it takes. That's why something about cannabis, it's always, I wouldn't say it, people are like, oh, it's the rejects. It's the outliers. So I was literally in math club at like 2 friends. My parents moved around a lot, Indian people trying to better their position. I'm such a patriot. I feel so lucky that I came to the United States. I couldn't do any of this stuff from India. Like, just being able to be in the United States and having the opportunities is just amazing.
With that mindset, it gives people that come from your situation an extreme edge, because if you're just born here, you take it for granted.
Oh my God. You go to a small village with cows and no running water. It's a whole different, there's nothing to even dream for, because you're not. That's the
like for your children or whatever moving on, right? It's like they don't feel that at all. There's no relation really.
And they also don't know what it feels like to, grow weed illegally, because you have to have, it is such a struggle to even sell weed, because obviously I didn't start growing. I started selling weed, but even selling weed is such a risk. And so, that's what I think about cannabis. It does kind of bring. So then after school, I had like weed life. So during school, I was this, pious Indian girl, couple years ahead on the map.
Before school?
Yeah.
No?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. Because I was so nervous.
How would you?
Just a one hitter. Like
you
a glass.
Just be walking, and would you take it with you, or
well,
what?
You're in Queens, dude. It's
crazy area.
It's 18.
You're walking everywhere.
Yeah, like our school was like Subway. I think 1,600 people. Yeah, Subway.
Yeah.
Take the L. I'm just saying that this is just talk about like third world country in the United States.
So you would do New York City, or like just pull off.
Yeah,
would you meet up with anyone, or you were on like a
you'd have
solo?
we had like 3 friends, and we would meet like basically in PSI 189, like
Boom.
two.
Give them the details.
Yeah,
there's people listening.
two blocks away. You don't want to, you got to let it air out, right? You can't be smelling like that.
Especially not back then.
No, absolutely not. That, and then I ran track event in 11th grade, and I was like all the way. And then you would meet up right before. I don't think people realize how much herb athletes smoke and how much it enhances their experience. So we'll come to that
you had the
later.
whole track team out there.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe like 2 of the slower track team people.
So 15, 16, when you got to like 17, 18, were you like doing stuff in school?
So I still did the delivery, but 17, 18 was all about, my parents are conservative Indian people. So it's really about getting those high SAT scores and kind of, getting to college. And more importantly, in our case, getting some type of financial aid for sure. So kind of focus on that. And then I would high times, I would always read about cannabis, but I would say I took a break a little bit during that time. And then the beauty for me was when I moved to Colorado in 1997. And that was, How
old were you?
I was 19.
Okay.
I was 19 years old.
Moved at 19 to Colorado.
In Boulder. Yeah.
What was the reason?
University of Colorado College.
Got it.
Right.
Damn.
So I got a full ride.
So it's kind of just didn't really even realize type of thing.
Yeah. Because I was in New Haven, Connecticut. And then I only did a year and a half there. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm racked up in school debt. I'm in 80 grand in school debt. I could sell 1 million packs. And I'm never going to fucking pay the student debt off. So I went to University of Colorado and I got a scholarship there. And but that's when I just fell in love. There were so many people growing herb in Boulder at the time. It was crazy. And right off the bat, like I'm on ICMAG, I'm on Overgrow, I'm researching it. Someone allowed me for the first year and a half. I don't know how you guys all learned how to grow, but for me, I was put in a position where it's like, all right, you're going to take all the risk. You're going to go to this house every day in Westminster outside of school, and you're going to water. You're going to do all these things, and you're not going to get any money for it. And then once this house is really hot, we'll give it to you.
Oh, Lord. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It was a 6-lighter. And so it was trap. And you'd go there. You're only going there you're trying to get in and out. But that's when I really fell in love with it. Because once you felt comfortable, you're like, I might as well just stay here until it gets dark. Like, fuck it. Like, so in the grow houses, like it would kind of become like my secondary home. I really didn't want to. It was just easier to be there, and being around plants was super fun. Yes, yeah. So and then I finally got to my own place. And then at 20, I got in trouble for cultivation.
Oh, damn. In Colorado?
In Jamestown, Colorado.
It's always a jump-in method. It's always, I feel like a lot of cultivators, it's like, oh, I got some homies that grow, and then you get more used to being around it. Like, what's this go on? And then they kind of start to explain this.
Yeah, and they send you to go. You're the do boy or do girl. That's all it is. Like, hey, cut clones, go to initiation. Definitely go to the grow store. Nobody wants to go be seen at the grow store.
Yep.
No one can skip this step though.
No, exactly.
It shouldn't be talked down upon, because I think people should look more forward to those steps, because it's like you only do it once. You only do it once,
and then it becomes part of your learning process. So I think that a lot of times people
it's in anything you do.
They want to get to here.
You got to suck first.
You start here. You got to suck. Oh boy, did I suck.
You got to go. You're getting taught on your own time without them being like, "Yo, let me pay you $20 an hour for you to suck for 2 years."
Money and your own risk.
You're saying like, "I'll take that risk on." I love how, and this is what I signed up for. Where like, yeah, this is a journey you're gonna have to go through to learn this. It's an exchange of knowledge for your time and effort.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like,
and it's a privilege.
The only way you really learn is by doing it.
Yes. So many things in life are like material,
that. You could have all the books, do all that. You could sit in courses and do everything, but until you're doing it.
Anything's like that. Think about all the things.
Literally, this goes for anything.
Like,
you gotta suck first. And it's like people want to skip that step, but you can't.
I can't read about surfing and be a pro. or jujitsu.
Exactly, dude.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's so
Jujitsu.
true. But that exchange for knowledge, if you really look at it like that, the longer you exchange the knowledge for your time, the better you're getting, especially it's like with anything, right? We used to BMX, and when you would ride with guys that were better than you, next thing you know, when I would race my group, I was smoking everybody because I'm like, well, my daily guy are all these experts. That's who I ride around town
Anything
with.
like
and it's the same
skateboarding,
thing.
snowboarding, you always want to ride with somebody, especially in snowboarding, that's
But
better than you.
exchange,
Yeah,
yep.
but exchange and hope that you can keep up. Because I mean, you have no friends on powder days, but.
So what happened in Jamestown?
Okay, so Jamestown, I was, getting it. I had plants everywhere in this house. It was crazy. I had like light movers in the bathroom, and I was on all the forums. So Overgrow and then ICMAG, International Canographics. And I grew an entire round of males. I'm not talking about like some hermed out. Like, I mean, I wish I still had. I think Gypsy, when I went legal or recreational, I had Gypsy take down all like my thousands of posts. I was like, but I think if I could ever have a picture back, it's just like this entire, like literally how you see in like Horace or like just covered in nut sacks. I mean, it was just the whole room was seeded out. And I'm like, is this a new strain? I'm like, this looks interesting. So I'm like, but right, it was, like I said, you got to learn that. And then you learn, wow, it's really hard to get rid of pollen in a house. So, but all sorts of seeds came out, all sorts of projects came out of that. My landlord, who did buy herb from me, decided that she had found religion and called the cops. So that was it.
After buying weed from you a bunch
That's
of times,
fucked.
then in the middle of that, decided
That's pretty low.
that is rough.
Shout out to that landlord. I mean, fucking
Eileen.
slumlord.
Eileen.
Wow, Eileen. Shame on you, Eileen.
Which I'm guessing later in life really didn't help when you tried to get a license in Colorado. Fast forward, right?
It was, I mean, and I felt like, because in Colorado, even as an employee, you had to be badged. And every kid out there that had, and thank goodness they're trying to, at least California is changing that. And it's not like that. But in Colorado, the thing that got you to be able to even make money in the industry was shunned upon. So it was just this whole thing where it's like, oh my God, all right, are you going to disclose? Well, no, man, my record's sealed. So my record was sealed. And so there's this whole thing where, my attorney's like, look, you don't have to disclose. I'm like, I'm too afraid of not disclosing.
It looks worse when they find out.
When they find out. And they're going to find out. And it is what it is. And so I'm happy that I'm old enough now to get into a place where I can talk about it. And it's not this, like, oh man, because it was a hard time. It's like hard for your parents to go through. You have to you're kind of shunned from your grow community. They love you, but you got to keep your distance during that time. But I got lucky. I had good lawyers. It was a year of probation and that was it.
What's that day start like? How does that day go? Like you wake up, it's a normal day, or you get woken up to boom, boom, boom.
No, yeah, they came in at night.
So they came in the middle of the night?
Yeah, at night,
wow,
in the evening. So that was kind of,
You were there?
Yeah, I was there. It was
So they were
Christmas.
watching the place.
Yeah, it was Christmas. It was bad.
Oh, yeah. Christmas.
I know.
Jeez.
Because plants don't care. That's a big part of it as well, I think.
So like when they're working on Christmas, those dudes are pissed coming in there.
They were so pissed.
Oh,
I was the scrawniest little thing. I was like 90
line up
pounds
outside, they're like, we're here for today.
Even
you know
then,
how cold it is in Colorado on Christmas too? So you're out there freezing your nuts off.
Oh my God. And the strains, I was still like,
girl, they got a gun to her head. It's like,
I thought the strains were so important at the time. I'm
were
like,
you by yourself?
Yeah.
So you
I was
lose all
like
your
Fort
genetics.
Collins, cough, and blueberry. And then I had the first SFV. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to get these back.
Yeah. That's funny. That's your first thought. You're such a grower.
Yeah. It's like, oh my God, there's just, because it's your own babies in the fire of the house. But it was fine. I mean, I think that even years on later, if people would go away, they'd always give me their cuts. And they're like, keep it healthy, give it back to me. You know that. I always said that.
Especially if you have a story like that, you're like, yo, listen, this is what happened. Most people will be like, hold on, let me see what I can do. Because people know what that's like. That's so crazy, though. And that's what we referenced was in Colorado in the beginning, they actually came down on anybody who had been in trouble for cannabis prior to you applying for the license. So It was literally like, oh, you've been arrested for a bag of weed. You can't get a license now. It's like, well, I've been doing this.
Well,
this is
kind of why I'm here. This is why like everybody,
crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
To the point where, will you explain it further? You would have to go in front of a board.
Yes.
And explain to a board of people what your arrest was about, why, how it went down. Yeah.
Yeah, your bad moral. That's what they called it, which is
crazy.
Which is bad moral character.
In a business that you just invested millions of dollars and you have everything on the line, you should have just started doing this.
Yeah, it's true.
It's crazy the way they kind of think about this, or they kind of expect cultivators or business owners to be like, well, here's the laws. Now you guys just live through it and figure it out.
Well, they also made it into a level of compliance that I don't think most regular businesses could even take on. If you ask like a Grainger or Home Depot to do the level of compliancy that we have to do, in Colorado in the beginning, or just in general.
No outside funds.
And then add 62% tax. Yeah, dude. It was tough. It's
crazy. It's crazy.
There's definitely no funding. I definitely funded the first store at CAM on my own. It was tough.
Well, so you did the year probation. How'd that go? Like,
it was fine.
Live with your parents.
Yeah.
No smoking.
No. What? No, my parents were like, you can't come home. No, it was over. Yeah, it was over. I got a new place to live. It was fine. And that was kind of my parting gift from my mentor. He was like, look, you got pinched. Come back in a year. I'm like, all right. So I got an apartment. And at the time I was finishing school. I have my master's in applied math. And once I finished that, then I got a real software job and I grew at night. So that's kind of
that was actually really good advice he gave you.
Yeah.
Because what would have been dumb advice is, jump back in. Here's a pound, start moving it.
Yeah,
and then
you're
you
gonna
get
need
caught
money.
a second time on probation. Like looking back, I'm like, man, that was great advice. Like, take a year off. And that actually gave you the space to, plus you were a bright star. It wasn't like you had nothing else going on. You just had graduated with applied mathematics degree, correct?
Yeah, I was on my way. I'm saying that those next 3 years, I focused on that. I did probation. I was in college. I'm just, what I say, doing your time. And watching everybody else grow weed from afar, which sucked. So, because that's a whole like lifestyle and a community when you grow herb. And it's a special secret that you have good herb. You're not just a plug, but you're actually somebody that's helping cultivate. It's different for sure.
So everyone's spaced away from you.
Yeah. Yeah. But same thing. I'm like used to kind of being by myself. Any good cultivator, I think, will tell you they're happiest when everyone's gone and you can be in the room by yourself, kind of walk your hallways and just kind of go through your rooms. But yeah, it's fine. It was a good time to kind of regroup. So, and life's a lot of up and downs. So you're not going to experience any of those ups unless you've had some pretty shitty downs.
Great points. I mean, I kind of know a little bit about your career, but where's it go from there? Because you had a pretty dope career. Well, you said software. So talk about that.
Yep. So the first job I had was Computer Associates, and they were doing automation software. And I think a lot of that, I'm so happy that I got to work those jobs and kind of learn how to be a manager, learn how to treat people well, realize that you could be great at what you do or really, really bright, but you're only going to get there with the team. And I mean, there's nothing more true of that for cultivation. Every single piece of cultivation, someone is working, sometimes not for that much pay, and they have an integral part in making the product successful or not successful, especially as you scale. So you have to have like a lot of trust. And I learned a lot of that just working a relatively pretty corporate job. The software community is great though. We're a bunch of nerds. People like to, they're curious minds, and they all smoke a lot of weed. So it was a good couple of years. It was good because I was doing something I was really passionate about after work. And then prior to that, I was learning a lot and I was making pretty good, decent money, which funded all my cannabis stuff. So that was kind of cool. And then in 2009, that was it. Colorado's rules. So there was a couple dispensaries before that, like little medical places. But then in 2009 is when I started CAM. I was a single sole proprietor there. Perfect time for 5 years. It was good.
How'd you come up with the name?
Well, just like every store, they were trying to make it medicinal, right? You had to, put your best foot forward. I just knew I wanted to, I was thinking about it. You're always dreaming, right? That you'll be in multiple states. And I was like, all right, well, I'll just go to the C states. So it'll be California alternative medicine, it'll be Colorado alternative medicine, Chicago. Yeah. So that's it. We're just kind of brainstorming.
Is there any other seasons?
I started racking my brain for a minute.
Yeah, Connecticut. I can go to Connecticut.
Right?
Connecticut. Yeah. They got weed.
I mean, you could micro it. Yeah.
You could micro it for sure.
Either way, it's synonymous with fire. That's funny, though.
Yeah, it was good. And then it was just, we were driving by Broadway. I mean, getting even the smallest stuff, like getting a spot that would allow for a dispensary to open in 2009, much less it be nice or, have good feng shui or, any of that. No, forget about that. It's like, can I pay an absorbent amount of money to try this business out? And we got lucky. With our landlord.
With little to no parking too. You guys had almost no parking. And
none.
You would have a line out the door.
That was good.
People would just come from all over and park anywhere through the neighborhood. They'd walk, get dropped off. It was crazy.
Especially we were like, I think the second store to go rec in 14. And like, it was like, we had the dude that made Death Star from Ohio. And they came and brought like a couple colas, like still on the stick. Like, I grow Death Star. I'm like, I grow some too. I'm like, thank you, man. Have all the Death Star for free.
That's super
But just
cool.
having like small moments like that, people that you'd talk to on forums for years, but never got to meet, especially the Cali dudes. Everybody came out and came and visited, and it felt really good. It felt really good for the team.
You guys had more genetics than anybody I knew though at the time. You would have so many strains. And I remember like one of your cultivators always would talk about like that. We know he's like, I just always would be like bringing new stuff in nonstop. The amount of genetics you had was just incomparable.
It was great because I was also down to trade, right? And it was just such a community time of sharing strains. Like, yeah, I'll meet you at 7-Eleven. Like, you got Grape Ape? Awesome. I've got Rez's Sour Diesel. It's 77 days though, dude. So just let you know, you're going to lose half a harvest a year. But those are the times that you're still vegging in the same place you're flowering. So, it was just an interesting time to grow.
How do you get through the licensing process in Colorado? Like we could dive into that. Like how difficult was that going from just being you know, and trying to figure it out?
Your team you put together for Cam when you did this in 2009, was it any of your,
So I worked with
like hometown friends or like,
no, it's just
how'd you put
me.
together your team?
Well, the team I literally just hired like outright. One by one. So in the beginning it was just me, and then I hired somebody for retail, and then we grew. We got the bud tenders first, and it was just a 5,000 square foot space. So it was just me and this gentleman named Corey Buffkin, who has won a ton of High Times Cups. I'd met him, and he was bringing in herb into Cam, and I said, yeah, dude, I'll put you on the shelf. And then his product was so good. It was in soil. It was so good. And I said, look, man, I've got 5 8-light rooms. I'll give you 2. And that's kind of how we started learning, because we were in a commercial space. Like, we had gotten overcharged for 400 amp panel. I mean, it was just a nightmare. But then the year after that, I realized, yes, you need to learn how to grow cannabis well on scale. But the main thing is I went out and became a general contractor. So I have my Class C. So that has been, I think, as important as genetics or community or how much I love herb, just knowing construction and being able to navigate yourself through building grows for a little lower than $125 a square foot at the time. We didn't have the bells and whistles back then. We're just like, okay, a room with lights, HVAC. So,
jeez. But I mean, you take everything head on. Like, look at that. You're talking about taking on that, besides taking on the licensing process, the financial side. I mean, on and on and on. The grow. How do you find the grow?
Right. It was just across the street, but at the time,
across the street from the dispensary.
From the dispensary, which is just, I just got a lot of stuff I got lucky with. And then there was a underbelly of landlords that were watching California landlords making a lot of money. So when cannabis started opening up, and we were like, we're licensed. It was a little easier, and there were people there to kind of. It was a little vulturistic because they were charging 10x the rent. So, and that was the other part of how much you had to manage. Now I look at how have I been able to scale, trusting people, delegating, like not doing it all by yourself, not being like, I'm going to come back in and do it just because, holding people accountable and making sure that the team that you're working with, if they have love for the product, it's really going to grow, and it's going to grow because of these people, right? Like now I look at Mike and George and, their brothers, they work in the veg, dude. These guys crush it. They come in, they're excited. The first person that I hired in California is still with me, Ryan. He's basically not only in the grow, but he's also helping build out the 2100 lighter. So
wow.
Yeah. So it's been, and I found him off Craigslist. Full blown.
That's so crazy because we have a similar story. One of the best people Pack Odds had found when we started Blackleaf was one of our employees, and she's just amazing. She's one of the most amazing employees ever come across.
I could
Lance
never
stole her from me.
I definitely did, by the way. Yeah, I have to admit
He's got that issue.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, my bad.
It's deep. It's running. It's still running
Shit
deep.
is deep.
Damn.
You just did it again with another person.
Dude, that means
Damn.
but they're obviously going to.
No more toe stepping. My bad.
Funny you mention it. Funny you bring that up.
I'm
actually,
always looking to poach talent. What was her name again? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. For real.
Dude,
telling you,
I'm
you gotta watch some
I'm
people.
always looking to be like, can I treat you better? Baby, I'm gonna treat you better.
I'll take mental note of that. Then.
Don't
Make
bring
sure
me
we
around.
keep last for hours.
This guy's just as
I
bad.
got some.
It's a
Dude,
dog
and I
eat dog world out
can
here.
smell someone that is passionate. I swear, from across the room. And I love working with those people because you can just empower them and they just go. So, and I'm always trying to hire people or just be around people that are smarter than me. If you're the smartest person in the room,
Wow.
and that's the best cliche ever. You're just in the wrong room, especially with. I try to go to a lot of these. I was just learning about LEDs and photons getting trapped inside of the LED. I didn't know any of that. So every day I try to, learn. There's so much. So,
So you get the dispensary open, and then he's saying you find a grow across the street. Like, how long did it take you to open the doors and what was the process
it was
for
so
you to
quick because I had I'm sure Colorado's excited to hear about this, but I had home grows, and so the store was being fed from that. So we opened the store first, and so I could get some income in. Building out a 5,000 square foot grow, I'd started with 180K. Can you imagine starting that now? Oh my God, 180K just to fund the store, get the leases down, a little bit of legal, get some good payroll situation, banking, and getting the lease for the 5,000 square foot grow. So that's all that took care of. So then we started getting rolling. I had this amazing ecosystem of people that grew great weed. Chem 4 from Matt Bickle, he's still in the game. All these different, Seth, who had LA Kush, and gave me my first cut of LA Kush. Never went back after that. Still love that strain. Still love smoking that strain. It's about a year. So we started in June 2009, but we just put product on the shelf. And I was harvesting 4 times. It was a community. It was
what were the
full-blown.
top sellers at the time?
When we first opened up, whatever we had, let's just be honest. I think there was another dispensary that had started Patient's Choice that was kind of down the street. But we just wanted to focus on quality. So all the sour diesel sold out immediately because obviously from the East Coast, I'm all about sour diesel. And then
you guys had the legit one too.
Yeah.
You guys had that super sour.
It was. And later on we had AJ's cut. It was all of it was so tasty. It was good. And then we had Golden Goat from Jeff, from Mr. Dank. We had, and then just a couple months into opening, we had Presidential Kush and Flow and Juicy Fruit from you guys. It was, and it
their
just
menu, bro,
and it
keep
just,
going.
and then
Because this is the
sour
thing.
grapes.
Boom.
Do you remember sour grapes? That
Cannabis
was an
Cup
old one.
winner.
Yeah, it is. Sour grapes was good.
Like Cindy 99 or something.
Cindy, which is weed, which was Cindy 99 Cross. We had 92 OG. I had Biodiesel. I had
18 OG.
Yep, 18 OG. LA Confidential. Wonder Woman.
The Death Star, just
dude, the Death
gnarly.
Star,
Death
dude,
Star.
Wi-Fi OG, Wi-Fi OG,
You had the original
Wi-Fi. That was good.
Skywalker.
Yep, Skywalker.
I mean, I'm trying to think for purples. What did you guys have for purples?
I had Pre-Bubba.
Okay.
I had White Master. That was the joke.
Yep.
For all my homies. Black man smokes White Master Kush.
Lord.
I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
But
the flavors.
it was good. It was Grape Ape.
Yeah.
ISS. Parentage
Island Sweet Skunk.
Island Sweet Skunk.
Oh my gosh.
No,
Fucking hate that strain.
Pat God's been waiting to bring up a couple
God.
things. Same with Golden Go. You were going to
Bubblegum?
say something too. I
Dude,
saw you over there
I'm having a
twitching.
seizure,
He was
man.
over there twitching with Golden Go.
Indiana.
Seizure, man.
Oh, it was so bad. It was just,
We don't need no more of that
no
shit.
more.
This
it
is
was
something that
it was
Ella
so
just had on
hairy.
repeat.
Dude,
It was like a broken record.
DJ
CD.
Shorts Flow.
DJ Shorts Flow, dude.
You guys just had so many.
The real blueberry.
You had the real blueberry. Think about that all on the shelf at the same time most of the time.
Don't you remember Bruce Banner?
Bruce Banner.
All
boom.
the
Chem 4.
Chem
91.
Chem 91. Chem Sis.
Both of them.
Triangle OG.
The real Triangle
The
Kush.
real
yeah.
Triangle Kush. That just had the most perfect,
I love though.
small.
Chem 91 and Chem 4. You could go back and forth smelling them, be like that one and that. Like, not many people can have those both offerings to say that was on the shelf with all those others. And then you keep naming people. And I don't think a lot of people understand outside of this circle that you're naming the guys who actually created some of those strains.
Exactly.
Or like the keepers of the flame.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you're like, oh, Bruce brought in this Bruce Banner, it's like, yeah, she's talking about the guy who created the shit, not like,
Jason.
oh, I got the cut from a friend. She's talking about like all these people who created these cuts were coming to the table, all bringing shit straight to you.
Yeah,
like
it was really
fire.
good. Yeah, it was wonderful.
And then you had
What do you think was
elite
behind that?
cultivators.
Because you were willing to pay?
I
The word
always
got out.
willing to pay, and
You knew.
and dude, I would literally put your name on. I'd give you all the cred. I would tell people that this is this person's. I mean, that's what's so important still, to like honor where you came from, who helped you get there, and all the people that are still killing it. So I think that's that empathy portion that comes is really helpful, and to stay humble, because you never know, how it's going to go in the next, like, especially with cannabis. So I feel super lucky to have my time when it's good.
Crazy. And you guys, for the grow side, I know people always get in on me. I want to know, you guys were doing bucket systems, right? And
Oh my God,
talk
green
about
trees.
the styles of
Yes.
growing and what nutrients, because you guys had it so dialed in that I know there's log books of how each nutrient, how much trim versus flower they produce on the same strains.
I was doing all that. I was doing all my
real
metrics.
detailed.
Yeah, because I was into software. So I first started. So I had flood and drain on 4x4s with 6-inch cubes. That's what I first learned how to grow. And I was in Rockwell forever. And then I found these little clay pellets called Hyderton, and the roots would just kind of hang out. So I grew. Then my second round was Easy Cloner to 6-inch net pots to Hyderton, house and garden, flood and drain. We let them grow so tall and big. And then we'd put them into the Green Trees hydroponic system, 55-gallon drums. You'd have, 63 to a zone. And it was really similar to this, just being, with Netaflex and drippers and dosatrons, but it was all contained within that room. The issues there were the yields would really hurt because you had to keep the water cool. So you don't want your water in the same room that you have all your HPSs in. Well, now we know that. But at the time, I could only afford one AC unit per room. So just a 30-ton, and that's just what it was. I think I was lucky that Colorado was a little cooler. I mean, I'm in SAC now. Those ACs be popping. all the time. But in Colorado it was great. We had a different type of environment. That's also what made it so hard when I first came to California from a cultivation perspective, because how you're going to grow in Massachusetts is going to be completely different from how you're going to grow in Colorado, which is going to be completely different, and how you're going to build
Can you get into that? Like explain, and you're talking indoors. We're not talking outdoors.
I'm just talking about indoor. I'm just talking about indoor. So
can you explain that, how it would still affect even indoor? Like, why couldn't it be the exact same?
Well, because you have the pressures of the heat, and then you also have pressures of humidity and how quickly you're able to remove the humidity from the room. So if you're, depending on the time of the year, there's just a lot of moisture in the air. So even if you have, your economizers are shut down, your ACs you have a completely closed environment, even then, most municipalities are going to make you take in some type of fresh air. The ACs, you're going to be changing filters. I mean, there is fresh air coming in. Depending on where you are, here's another big difference. Colorado, they call it like, the weed turns into dust because it's like negative humidity. I mean,
crunch pack.
Literally, we would add humidifiers at the end because you're trying to get to 14 days.
You turn the grinder, it's like.
You
do it like this.
Look, dude, the 14.
Roll it out. You're like, it like just blows in the air. You're like, fuck.
It's like ashes.
The whole joint.
Yeah. It's crazy how, and your baseline for where you start with your environment is so different, right? Where from Florida to Colorado to California to New York, right? Even just daily weather and you're talking inside, the windows sweat different. Everything is just acting different.
But dude, if you've made it in Florida, you are king. It is
very tough.
It is literally the hardest place on the face of the planet to grow indoor weed. I mean, that means you're in Candyland when you come to these other states, because not only is it extremely dangerous, like from a getting in trouble perspective, it is the level of humidity. And I mean, I've seen some bomb OG come out of Florida back in the day.
Yeah.
Really good. Really good. Starting to come back now.
How'd you attract all these elite cultivators though? Because you had like 3 or 4 guys that were just the top of the top. Even now, their careers have still continued to go.
Yeah, for sure.
How did you get them?
Because I grew weed. So I think that I had like a common language. So, and I was willing to entertain, like when my guys wanted to try aeroponics, let's try it. Like, I don't know, let's try it. Hey, we should try. It was just experimental. None of us really knew. And just having that, collaborative, I think that when people talk about women in weed or, how you're managing your people, it's about being able to kind of take a step back and not only do I not know best, let's collaborate together. Probably going to come up with a better solution by talking through everybody's experiences. So I thought that was really important.
Yeah, you were always big on that. It's funny because you were always big on, let's try it. Let's give it a go, to the point where I remember my mentor and, Chris, your employee, had did a whole room of these massive aeroponics tubes.
That's what I'm talking about.
And had it all worked out. And we're going to do
didn't
this
produce.
and
it
that.
Was so hard.
And he had already tried it. And I figured it out. And all this. And it was these massive, like 16 or 20 inch tubes with like sprayers. And he had got it down to where he had figured out which sprayer per gallon. I mean,
and the 2 nozzles. Yes, dude.
Each plant had a certain amount of sprayers per plant. And if this one clogs, this is the backup. So so much redundancy and so much thought. And then it got to the big show and it completely flopped because of X, Y, and Z. And
no, because the environment wasn't ready to take on that type of growing methodology.
You have to dial anything into one run, be like, go, is tough. But for years, I just remember going to his house and he'd have these massive tubes behind his house. Dude. And I'm like, what are you going to do with those? And he'd be like, we're going to use them at some point for like 5-6 years. But that was big of you to allow like, here, use my money and my space and my real estate, because this is oceanfront real estate, the amount you're paying.
Sure.
And, try something different, even though this is working.
Yeah, but that's okay, because I think that if you don't give people a little bit of freedom, they're just, it just makes it become very mundane. And it does, you're not able to like have your own ideas and be creative. So you want to make people that they are part of the process and that they really count. And I think that as we get further into cannabis, people are going to start realizing how important that is. Treat your people good. Treat your people good. Super important.
That come naturally to you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I really care about people. I love, like, as much as I love the plant, I realize it takes a village to make this stuff come out on time. Like, I mean, I now, in terms of scale, I want to say post-processing is 40% of the game. It's as important almost as the cultivating side of it. How you're drying it, how you're storing it, how you're curing it, and how quickly you're able to get it to the consumer so it doesn't get old.
Yo, what up? It's Blackleaf. I'm here at Grow Generation, and guess what? Drip Hydro's storming the market. All the best growers I know are switching to it, and guess what? There's a reason, because it's preserving terps. I keep hearing that, preserving terps, and that's why we're here with Sunshine, facility advisor, facility manager, overall the man with Drip Hydro. Listen to why it's different, man.
What's going on, guys? Sonny here with Drip Hydro. Thing is, at the end of the day, we just wanted to make a simple, clean, cost-effective nutrient line that nobody has really seen on the market right now. Nobody uses really our chelation formulas. The micronutrients that we have pulled to make this line is really just what makes it overall, bringing that consistency and quality back to what we want to see in growing herb again. And overall, at the end of the day, it's still really light on your wallet. It's a 5-part nutrient line. And again, if you're not staying sterile, or you have a big facility and you don't want to run rock wool and you want to run a mix of cocoa with an enzyme or something, you don't even have to run flow with it. So at the end of the day, it's just saving you money on your wallet while bringing the consistency and the quality of terps back. We wanted to bring the terps back and bring the soul back to growing.
Versatility, cost effective, and quality. I mean, what else can you ask for? Drip Hydro, first smoke of the day, Blackleaf approved. Peace.
Damn, this place is huge. I gotta get what I need and get out of here, man. I'm in a rush. What? Whoa, Blackleaf?
Oh, you already
What
know.
are you doing here?
I basically live here. Grow Generation, can filters, Power SI, Athena products, Lux lighting. Man, I mean, I basically live here. Grow Generation store is the largest hydroponic store I've ever been to. It's crazy.
The largest hydroponic retailer in the nation with over 60 locations, so you know they got one near you. It's growgeneration.com and at growgeneration on Instagram. Tell them First Smoke of the Day sent you.
You're right, 100%. That's where we see so many people fall short these days.
That's the disconnect right now in the California market.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure about other markets, but it seems like California specifically is the market where I say going to a rec shop's like playing scratch off lottery.
You don't know what you're going to get.
You don't know if it's even going to be smokable. Most of the time it's not. And it's not the brand's fault. It's not even really the dispensary's fault. You know, it's a logistical thing, and it's just the way it's set up. And like it, you know, obviously there's, you could say saturation in the market, but you know, at the same time, you know, you should know what you need, get what you need, be able to move that off the shelf and have fresh produce on the shelf, not products, produce.
And that's how we should treat it.
This is what this is.
Absolutely.
You know, it's a fruit, right? And it's like, we don't want rotten tomatoes.
No. And on the brand end, like, you know,
we go creme de la creme, 85 and 8.
Dude, we go to stores every single, like, we're talking to buyers all the time. Give me a report. Anything that's past 120 days at the most.
You're on it like that.
Oh,
wow.
We give you a credit memo. Like, there's going to be some things
Damn,
like
just dropped a lot of game for a lot of you.
Yeah, just get in there.
A credit memo, just saying turn it back in.
It's okay.
We'll give you credit off your
we'll give you
bill,
off your
whatever.
next order. So that way you're going to want to continue to do business with us.
Here's fresh product.
We're a good retail partner for you. You know why? Because I want someone to go home. And I know how hard it is. I've worked really hard for any money that I've made my whole life. So if you have 60 now in the think about that, $67, and that's like, it's a good meal. I mean, and you're taking that home. It needs to be good, and we really care about what we're putting our name on. So, and that comes from cultivating it.
Smoking this Bubba's Girl right here, and this is Bubba Kush times Girl Scout cookies.
Pre-Bubba 98.
But you know what good weed is, and that's why you know to put it out that way. I think some people don't even know what good weed is or hasn't smoked fresh weed. We talk about a lot of guys right now that some of them don't even smoke weed or aren't sampling it like we talked about in the beginning, where you're sampling a bunch of other people's weed. Like we're trying NorCal Nemo, we're trying Cam, we're smoking this, we're smoking that. It's because we all enjoy high-end weed and sampling it. If you don't enjoy that, how could you possibly
new flavors, new strains?
But how could you compete
right
with what fresh weed is getting to the shelf when you're like, you don't even know what that is? You're not. You know what I'm saying? You smoke you smoke the smalls from the brand that are the old stuff they were going to give away.
And the end game can't always be scale. It can't always be, let's get to the biggest we can ever be ever. Mm-hmm. Let's get to the best product.
That's what it's coming down to now, because the floods already happened.
Yes.
Washing up is occurring, and
only
the best will stand and stay.
Don't be driftwood.
True.
Wash up on the beach.
For sure.
Such a good way to put it. It's true.
You seen Tampa Bay?
The storm is hitting. Yeah, no,
that shit was dried up, man.
But I mean,
crazy.
Look at this baseball bat.
It's
What'd you roll up, bro?
It's so
That's
good.
the Bubba's girl from Cam
with a big old rope
pick
tip.
this up.
It's good.
All across California. Cam.
On the behind the scenes too, we rip it open and we showed the guts. We kind of like got more into the flowers and showed all them off. It was awesome. I mean, always good talks behind the scenes too. But with Cam, how do you progress and where does this go now? Because you guys were spitting out straight fire consistently on the market. People were coming. I mean, everybody I knew like, yo, if you fall through Denver, or if you're a Colorado person, Cam. I mean, you could live 3-4 hours away and people will be like, oh yeah, Cam, when I go through Denver. It's like,
awesome. Whoa. I know we had people come from everywhere. Telluride, we had people from Pueblo. It was just a special time. And the team we were all so in sync. Every person was psyched to do whatever they were doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was just, I've been chasing that feeling that I had during that time. And I think I will for I'm starting to get it back now, but have it for my entire, career.
A team like that, huh?
Yeah, dude. Everyone really cared about everybody. So, it's just good. Yeah. Palmer, Spindler, everybody.
Yeah. How'd you get in touch with Palm Tree?
He came in with Presidential Cushion Flow, and he was the person that I was like, oh my God, another human being that keeps her herb in Tupperware. Because I was the Tupperware lady. I would go to Walgreens. Yes. The Octagon.
The Squawktagon Tupperware.
Yes. So I ran back and got my weed. And I was like, bro, I'm in Tupperware too, man. And it was like,
he was like, I don't do the jars because shit gets mangled together and you can't get it out. Dude. He wants to be able to open it up and literally pick out one bud at a time. God. You know, Palm Tree. Dude. He's off the chain with it. But it's right though. I get it.
It was so good. And then I was like, hey, look, man, he's like, well, I'm already getting a lot of money down the street. I'm like, I'll pay you fucking $500 more, dude. Always bring it here. I'll always have cash. Always be faced.
And that's what she did though consistently. And that's why cultivators were coming out of the woodwork.
Smartest part of business too, because
pay your bills.
I was reading, I saw somewhere on Instagram, it was saying that I forget who it was. I don't want to misjudge it or whatever, but they paid their people more than everybody else. And so all the good people would hear about that and come to that company.
Yeah.
And it would kind of keep out the people that weren't as good. It would just weed itself out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's so key because you did that for him, and then what's he do? Tell his friend.
Well, if you're gonna expect,
I
think it's really good that we expect excellence out of each other. I think that some of this last couple of years, we've forgotten to expect people to be excellent because they can be. And that's, when you hear about all these great companies at last.
It's been rough.
Service has been rough. Yeah, it has.
Everything, restaurants. Everybody's.
You're right. Service has,
gotten more used to just giving
double when we're getting half.
Dude, there you go.
That's the best way to put it.
Yeah. I mean, we used to be able to you have dinner, go across the bar, you're making eye contact with the bartender, you're conversing. Now it's it's transactional at best. Mm-hmm. So, but that's gonna happen with people not connecting for so long. We're gonna be rusty. I mean,
I think the people that come back though and say, no, this is how it needs to be.
Yeah,
first though, then that's you feel it. It's just different.
Yeah, exactly. And you feel that when you go to some secret sessions. When you go to culture events and just coming here, just having this, you realize wow, we have so much culture. Cannabis has so much culture, and it's all really good.
Olympics, PuffCon,
Yeah, dude.
all these
Greenwald,
big
all
events that
those
are
guys.
happening in LA that are bringing the culture back around, and everyone's coming out for it. You end up running into, like, I know all these guys by face, but I'm like, man, people don't even realize that's this guy. It's like seeing pro baseball or pro athletes. To me, it's like, yo, that's the guy behind that brand.
Dude,
yo,
you and
that's
me, like, oh, holy God, that's
Yeah.
OG Rascal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm
Exactly.
chasing down OG
the dude
Rascal in
behind Finest
Vegas.
Farms.
Like, yeah, dude, exactly.
But it's cool because that's what's really affecting the culture, and that's what we need here is to bring everyone back together because cannabis needs it right now. The whole industry needs it right now. It
doesn't need to be dog eat dog. I mean, that's the one I was just telling you, like, what's been my experience, like women and like weed. All I've experienced is older homies. Like in SAC, I was just had so much love. I mean, you name it, Caleb from Connected, Lumpies, Jason. I mean, everyone. I mean, so much support.
So let's get into that though. So in Colorado,
Dave
you guys are at the top
Dave
though. Where does it
preferred.
go? Yeah, because let's go into the journey because you had
Okay,
such a crazy journey.
Yeah, so from 2009, 2004 to 2014, Cam literally like this. I mean, we were winning High Times Cups. We were growing. We went from 30 people to 120 people in like 35 days. Super hard to keep track of everything. So just when you think, and I'm going to tell you, I think that my ego got to a certain level. I think that I thought I was the hotness, right? And I had folks coming to me saying, hey, we'd like to buy your operations. And I was like, I'm priceless. So usually when you do that kind of stuff, you piss the wrong people off. And like in any type of business with competition, but you should have all your stuff buttoned up. And I didn't. And so we had a licensing issue. I just handled it improperly. And they had, for what it was, they just decided to make an example. So I sold to Lucy Sky. And one thing I can say is that even though they bought all the assets, they didn't buy the culture. They didn't buy me. Mm-hmm. So I kind of walked away with the name. That next month after it was all done and everything had been transferred and all of that, the next day I went and bought a 30,000 square foot warehouse in Colorado, in Denver, and started again. The only difference was this is now 16, 17. It took me a year to build it out. It was a beautiful building. The prices were tanking at that time. And I also was only getting I know everybody gets 3 pounds light, but at the time I was only getting 1.25 pounds. So, and it was.
Yeah, right. So that's like a joke.
Yeah,
right?
It's a joke. Yeah,
Jesus.
exactly. But it was really hard. So I sold that, got all my chips in a row.
How many lights did that end up being?
That was the one that okay, so Cam at its height was around 1,100. And then the second round was, and that's really high for Colorado at the time.
For that quality too.
Yeah, it was good.
Exceptional.
And then when I rebuilt, I built a 500 lighter and I sold it. And I was able, at that time, I'm like, I'm done with Colorado. They're making it really difficult. They gave me back my license. It was all, I had a badge. It was all that. Everything was fine. But, you're never going to get back to it was just hard. So
at your height, how many patients a day were coming
750.
750 patients a day.
750 people. Amazing.
Crazy. When I try to explain this, people are like, oh, you're boasting. No, I mean, this exceptional weed brings everyone through the door, and that's what you guys had.
It was really
and
good.
you were amongst a row of about 15 other dispensaries.
Yeah, that's
and
what's
people
impressive.
would drive
dude,
to
by the end, there was 30. There was 30 different dispensaries.
You've been out there to Broadway.
The Kind Room.
Yep. You were the last one too.
Green Depot.
People just see a train driving past everyone.
It was a small space, but
tiny.
The flowers fire.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good times.
And apparently the grow was big.
So. It was big. It was really good.
Oh, man.
We had a good time, dude.
And you could bring it across the street. Think about that movement to be able to take fresh product that's coming from a room that just got trimmed to be like, oh, we're dropping it right now on the shelf. And
for you.
In
they
30
would wait
minutes.
in the Tupperwares.
Straight up. And the bud would be untouched flower, just nothing had to be vacuum sealed or moved. It got Tupperware moved over, and then you're literally putting it in your
That was the
jar.
other thing.
I mean, that's how it's meant to be consumed.
There you go.
Like,
I love hearing that.
Ta-ta-da.
Yep. You're right.
Like,
people
what's
don't
the
think about that,
difference,
though.
You don't want your dinner
what
sitting
is the
around.
difference? And it's like, look, if we're not getting our food tested, you know,
why
Wow.
go overboard
Why?
with that if you're not
Holy
going overboard
shit,
with other
you know?
stuff?
Dude, $800
honestly,
a test.
they don't even.
Another way to put somebody.
$800 a test.
I mean, in the beginning when I first
And
came
you
to
should be able
Colorado
to just,
or California,
it should be just
943.
like it should be a self-functioning process. Like you get a tester kit, test.
Oh, your
You
own
go through
flour.
it.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
just real quick.
Yeah.
That way you can, because the whole point is like fresher the better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the less it's handled.
Yeah, and then once a quarter, somebody comes and just does like a quick analysis on your test and tests your bud, and like you save the sample,
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
how most.
Like,
that's
if
how
the state
most
needs
like.
their documenting of the testing, send someone through. Fucking.
It is interesting how bureaucratic and how crazy they went. And I feel like Colorado started that wave of like laws that you're like, this makes zero sense.
Yeah, but even at the like, our issue was that we could have done it better, and we had grown so big that we should have been thinking about those things. I just didn't want. I don't want to over corporatize, and even though I should have a lot sooner, I was still doing. I didn't have what I have now, which is delegating to people that really know what they're doing in different areas, and not trying to. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to be good at everything, and you're not going to have time for everything. So,
or even be the best at
or
everything.
you can be good. Here we go. You might like to do some. I always run into a lot of this type of stuff because you can kind of do whatever you want within your space, but don't do things that you're actually good at. Even if you like certain things, I might not be very good at them. So I lead them to the experts. So yeah, it's been good.
Major game.
I know.
You hear that, Al?
I hear a lot of pack gods in you.
Hear that, Al?
I keep hearing you guys would be great hanging out. You guys are on the same wave for sure about delegating and business and being able to have talent around you and
doing what
key
you're good
points
at.
to any successful person.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's and people, they might be like, oh, it's California alternative medicine. It's like, man, you were successful. You had phenomenal strains. You've run
Colorado.
a successful business, a woman entrepreneur, someone that I know all the cultivators that you worked with all looked up to you. That was across the board.
And I looked up to them, dude. Like when I couldn't come in and Chris would come and fix a bunch of stuff, and God, dude, I mean, it was, and we both of us Saturday, this, that. I mean, you look at all those times and how much work everybody put in, but I mean, we were just growing this great product, and everybody, wherever you went, you'd hear that, oh, you're part of CAM. That was cool. So building that. I feel that way about so many brands, including ourselves in Cali, because people are still maintaining culture, having a good time, and working really hard. It's just a little harder right now than usual.
Still alive and well out here.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's being suppressed a little bit, but we'll get through that.
We'll get through that. Yeah, exactly.
When you decided to make the move to Cali, when you started figuring out where you were going to be, what was,
this is such a good
what was your
story.
thought process?
So after I sold that, I had I don't know, maybe a year, and Kevin Brooks from Connected randomly reached out to me. He's like, hey, I heard you do licensing. I was like, yeah, I write 1,000-page whatever SOPs or and I'm not doing anything right now. He's like, wouldn't you do, this is when they were still cookies. So he's like, wouldn't you do all the licensing for cookies? And I watched their entire because I got my first license in Oakland. I couldn't find not only a normal landlord, but I couldn't find a normal building. Like the buildings were really, rough.
Oakland crazy.
Forget about structure. There's no roof, period. Rats, this, that. But what I noticed when I was doing all the licensing for Connected, which as they became Connected, the place to be was SAC. The buildings were relatively, decently priced. They actually wanted people to come in and do business. I had to come to them and be like, hey, what's going on? I had these issues. I had a business in Colorado. It was really healthy. This is what occurred. Or, will you still allow me to have, the mea culpa? It's never fun. But again, it humbles you and it makes you realize, learn from your mistakes. And I think it just makes you, I wouldn't have been able to come to Cali if I would have never left Colorado, I think.
Is the cannabis tax a real thing? When people hear you're in cannabis, they double whatever they were asking before?
That's why I became a general contractor. I'm not kidding you. I mean, I think it was year 3 and I was still paying this guy for this 400 amp panel because he charged me like it should have been $15K. He charged me $90K. And I was making payments on it, just not knowing any better. Think about how much, and every person has been through that. Oh, you need plans done for your building? Oh, that's gonna be $100K.
Yeah, anyone else would be like 35, 40.
Yes.
Yeah, 25
normal,
for a
25, dude. $1 a square foot. I mean, just nonsense. It
is crazy. Even rent,
nonsense.
even just to rent a spot. I'm booming. We're smoking big joints today. But even just renting a spot, it's 50% more for square foot.
The deposits.
Yeah.
You could just go literally homeless on the deposit. Like I would come to Oakland. I'm like, okay, the rent's $50K. They're like, we want $500,000 deposit. I'm like, oh my God, give me a break.
It all comes from the misunderstanding of what cannabis really is and how much money's actually made in it. It's they think you're mining gold and they think that you're going to actually break the place down. It's like, no, when we leave this, it'll probably be nicer that we'll have to epoxy the floors. It'll be nicer than when we got it. Most times, unless you're a shitty cultivator, which you only do that once or twice.
To get one round out perfect, I don't think people realize over 30 to 40 different inputs have to go right. Your clones have to be cut well. Your moms have to be healthy. Your rooms have to be working.
Yeah.
You have to have money for the entire process. You have to not get in trouble.
Working capital.
Yeah.
I was always told from an older gentleman that is a mentor to me that's the thing that people forget the most in business is working capital.
Yeah, they think they just raise capital. And that's the one thing about cannabis that makes it really hard when you have to use your own money. You have to really think about it. It's not just OPM. It's not other people's money. It's usually, your homies or, it's in the very beginning is what I'm talking about. Much different. So
how do you find that money? Because obviously you had to raise it out here or no?
No, I didn't have to raise it out here. So I came out here after the sale. And then in my first round, I told you guys I sold it to Candescent because I didn't know a single person out here. I'm like, all right, I'm going to grow. And I brought like 3,000 clones with me from Colorado because I thought those strains would count in Cali. They did not. Let me remind you. And I thought, that
did
those
any of them?
What?
A few of them made it, right?
Yeah, the OGs. I mean, I sold to some homies in LA, but it took a long time, dude. It was, and it was to a distro. It was just whatever. It was my first foray into California weed, and it was like the end of it was basically 2019. So the market was kind of like 2018, 2019. So, and then COVID hit, and then that was it.
So the first couple of batches, they weren't under CAM.
It was just literally the grow was called CAM. No, we were just selling bulk. Yes.
See, that's actually kind of smart because it's like you get to dial in your cultivation
and let somebody else take the hits. Because believe me, guys, there was lots of them in the beginning. I did not understand that you even needed all these dehumidifiers. I was coming from the land of dust. Sorry, Colorado.
Where you actually have to add humidity.
2-year dryer, like insane. Yes.
Out here, you have to have both now and cranking.
Yep, and all the time cranking. So I learned a lot. I had to redo the grow, and then I met somebody that wanted to kind of put in for the real estate, but really realized that he wanted to scale, and he was super pro cannabis. So I got really lucky that I was able to go from 500 lights to adding 700 to now adding another 2,000. But for us, we're going to try to look at scale in a different way, which is it's okay if you need to not produce as much. Just ease into it. Just keep the quality and see if you can scale. Don't turn on everything at once. It's pretty decent advice.
She's a boss, bro.
Yeah.
For the real game, see what you can do with 50 lights first.
Yes. See what you can do with 50.
Phase it in, because holy shit.
And the other thing is that if you can't do your own,
there's literally people doing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 right now, and they're gonna put all the plants in at one time.
No, that's not a good
and
idea.
just go for it.
That's
Big
a big
rooms.
wave to ride.
Big
That's not.
rooms.
It's too much. And that's when things start going wrong. So if you're right now, we're harvesting every 9 days in one of the warehouses, every 13 days in another warehouse. And then just looking at those times, we'll move to every 2.5 days. So with 2,000 lights, you're basically going to be bringing a room down every 2.5 days. If you don't have your processes and your people really set up to actually, you're just going to have metric tons sitting around, and the weed's going to forget about getting old anywhere else. It's going to get old with you. So grow into it. But it is amazing to just have the opportunity to try it. I mean, it's so much weed.
You have to plot and plan those rooms out. That's got to be a really serious process to sit down and say, okay, these are the strains. This is how we're going to run them. This is how many of each kind. Like, how do you make those decisions? Is that with the head cultivator, or is that you just sitting down figuring out what you need?
That's with now we have a whole team. So now we have people that have data, and we're looking at the data off what's sold at the stores first. That's kind of how we're like, oh, okay, Bubba's Grill is selling well. People actually like it. People are buying, Cushman to test, right? People actually like it. So if we went through that and then kind of looked at those numbers and say, okay, this year we're in about 300 shops today. Maybe, and we do our own self-distribution. Maybe with the new spaces, we could get to 600 shops and we could do it well. So it's not about just getting into the shop. It's about making sure that the shop gets serviced, that you have an education day, you have brand ambassadors come, you have a salesperson that's actually going to be talking to their buyer every day. Shout out to Brody, one of our he's just on top of it. He actually goes out every day and has amazing relationships with all the buyers for Cam. But by doing that, by growing those types of I guess processes is really, really important.
It's almost like Cam's SOPs.
Yeah, exactly.
Encompassing besides just cultivation, it's like what do they call it? It's like the substance of your business.
Yeah, I think the business in general, especially nowadays, people are noticing it more and more. It's just a group of people doing something in unison. And if you have a bunch of folks in there that aren't happy or that you're just kind of constantly replacing, that means you need to do something better. So if you're constantly replacing, the trimmers that we have been with us forever, and that we trim on stem. And so even at Cam, we had people there. I mean, Brady was there forever.
You were the originator of trimming on the stem.
Dude, I love trimming.
Let's talk about that.
I love to trim.
But trimming on the stem though, you guys had this thing where you would basically manicure it down to about 8 to 12 inch pieces. And then you would hold the stem and you would trim the buds on the stem.
And then you would flake it off.
And then the last thing you'd do is clip the bud. It wasn't break all the buds down.
That's what
pile
you do,
them
man.
up.
Is that where you learned that?
What? Yeah, I mean, dude, a lot of processes. Come on now.
The godmother right here.
Yeah, I mean, and she had the prez and so it was this big, but yeah, we learned because what the guys on I guess my original circle from Florida, the guys that taught me how to grow, us, Palmer being the one, but the amount of data that you guys accumulated with this nutrient company versus this nutrient company, the same exact strain, the same lighting, the same everything, and then just doing so many side by sides.
It was awesome.
It was insane. It was like books of data.
Yeah.
Books
and
that
we kept.
Yeah,
kept
House and Garden, Canna,
yep,
Botanicare.
Yep, all that.
You've tested all
Palmer
that.
Palmer came back with, he did Botanicare. It was such good tasting weed.
See, and they would do that where it's here's the same strain run by 2 different nutrient companies. And
what happens?
Blind taste it. And then the next test would be 2 others. Okay, the winner of this times that. Okay, now we're going to change this. Okay, now we're going to do not buckets. We're going to do hydro versus buckets.
Yeah, because
same strain.
Up until 13,
Constant.
we weren't scaling. So there was a period of time for Cam that we just had the 2 warehouses and the 2 stores. And it was the one store, and the only thing we had to focus on was getting a rec store. Mm-hmm. But it was magic because that's all we were doing. We were just testing product. Mm-hmm. I mean, that in itself is an art form.
R&D.
And people that actually can tell you if your product is good or not. It's an art form. It's a sommelier type experience because a lot of times people don't even know if their rounds are they're not smoking their own herb to see if their rounds are actually comparable to the last round. It's important.
It's a tastemaker. and it's becoming its own thing. Back in the day, the grower would just be like, yeah, it's fire, and I like growing this strain. These days,
it would just sell.
Yeah, it sell, dude.
Just
It
sell.
sell.
You wouldn't hear
Black
much
Domina.
more about it. You wouldn't hear too much about it. Now people are having to sit with that fucking thing and be like,
whip it.
holy shit.
36, 32, 28, 26, 24, 22.
Oh, dude.
1,000.
Boom.
But it's true though, and that like Pack Odds is like a tastemaker that I consider at the highest level where I can always bounce stuff off. But you always need that person because as a grower, things are changing so fast these days. It's the fastest I've ever seen it with flavors that are coming in, the wave, and then the wave's gone. And it's like, oh shit, we just got that in production.
Gone, like overnight,
overnight.
Like the original Z that's going. I'm like, here, then gone. Like, but it's never really going to leave because it's always in concentrate form. But yes, I'm seeing everybody, I need this, like pink lemon cherry, right? And then gone. And then just empty. It's interesting.
It is interesting, the waves of strains right now.
Or anything goes.
What do you look for in a keeper when a strain comes around? What are you looking for?
So I start from the end and go backwards. So does it have color, flavor, structure? Structure is really important to me. How frosty does it get? And then I go backwards into the cultivation side. Is it resistant from disease or pests? Is it does it have good structure? We've consistently gone down lower in plant count, so we need to have something that's going to have a lot of nodes, a lot of internode spacing, not too tall, finishes within 63 days if you do your dry backs, but then still going back to getting the feedback from your folks from the stores. We're really trying to look at data. How quickly do things sell? What strains sell? What do people come back for? Constantly being in contact with all these bud tenders. They're like they're basically your sales force.
Yeah, they're on the front lines.
They're in the front lines. Like if you can keep these folks at least trying your product for free, taking care of them.
That's why I always like sessions are crucial because you need that interaction. Yes. Otherwise, you're lost.
That word of mouth from the bud tenders are just, they are curing, thank you to every person that recommends us in a shop. Like that is an extension of ourselves. It's pretty cool.
That's like me walking up to you in the street, right? And I'm like, yo, what's fire? What are you smoking on? You're probably going to think about the last thing you smoked that was fire. You're not going to think about 3 years ago, I had some really fire product from this one brand, right? So you got to stay on them. But it's so true because most people walk in and they almost know what they want, but they might say, well, what else? What else is
you
fire?
Got? I got another
you got
25 to spend. I got
They're only going to mention one thing. Maybe 5% of people mention a second, but yeah, you're right. And you guys do a great job of that because every time I went to Jungle Boys, I went to their spot and they had you prime center where I was like, oh, I'm going to try some cam.
Yeah.
Like it was a no, it was like, oh, there it is. Boom. And the amount of flavors you had, the Sharkolato.
Yep.
Sharkolati. That was the one I scooped.
Shark
that was
OG
fire.
with biscotti. Those had good rounds in the beginning.
Shark OG times biscotti. Fire.
It's good.
Yeah, he was smoking out. Definitely said it was good.
This is all fresh.
Fresh.
I can tell how like it's sticky. It even like burns. Like it has the power behind it. I got cotton mouth. Like all the traditional when weed's fresh stuff that hits you. I'm starving. All that good shit. Good weed.
There's so much choice to grow good things right now. It's crazy. People have just an enormous, amazing selection. I think what's really tough is that with the retailers, some people really enjoy the fact that we have a million flavors, and other folks, they don't want it as quickly because they have so many stores. Here's the other issue with, a lot of stores being bought out by the same companies, is that then it kind of becomes a MSO on that side too. So we really we service all those shops, but the places like We Are Hemp, like the small one-off shops that do just an amazing job and have been our retail partners forever, that carried us forever, has been really, that's been the side that I've really watched grow and have hired really great people to work in those jobs. I'm lucky.
Yeah, because the customer doesn't realize that when they become an MSO that they throw their weight around sometimes like that. Like, and then maybe they have a garden, so they won't buy certain product that the customer wants because we just had our crop.
We're not gonna carry your flower unless we buy bulk. I mean, there's so much of that. And I'm like,
we need it at this price because we have 17 shops. And it's like, well, how does that vary with, you should be wanting to have our stuff, and they almost throw their weight around, and it sucks because the only person that pays the brunt of it is the customer.
Always.
They're like, why can't I find this anywhere? Why can't I get this? It's like the shop is throwing their weight around.
It is
sometimes in the wrong way. It's tough. It's a tough market. I feel like Colorado was a lot of the hard lessons first, and now you're seeing it start
reverberate.
Here. Yeah, but you saw it out there first. I remember seeing some scary shit with doors getting changed on cultivators, locks getting changed where they would come to work the next day and it'd be like, we don't need you anymore. Crazy shit going on.
I mean, that's what happened to our family. Like when they first came out and had to go through just this, like, what do you mean? Brady sat there for 18 hours a day in the same spot for a year. It's like, you're not going to take care of us. Like, it was crazy. I mean, that's
gotta have contracts these days.
I mean,
gotta.
So important. But the other thing I want to remind everyone of is that your contract is only as good as the two people signing it. So unless you're willing to immediately sue or, make sure that the person that you're about to give your all to, I mean, it's like a marriage, and just treat it like that. Treat it with some kid gloves, take care of it, treat it like that seed you found today.
I know. But you just dropped gems. Treat it. Say what you said again one more time, because that was phenomenal. What you just said. Treat it with kid gloves.
Yeah. Treat that relationship that you're having, the person, whoever's doing that. If somebody's helping you distribute, someone's helping you do retail, if someone's providing, an investment, make sure that person gets their money back. Make sure that they're getting, if you're both winning, it's going to be a good relationship, because not one person can win. We've all had those, not only partners or friends or just people that all they do is take, right? In business, it just doesn't work like that, and it definitely doesn't work like that for very long. So I think that's why we're here for the long run. We're actually trying to build something that's going to last. Like, I want to die working in a grow.
Bury me under a plant,
just
dude.
bury me under a plant, man. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
love it. You love what you do.
I love it. And when I don't love it, or when the industry changes to a point that I'm like, I want to go do something else, I think that'll be okay too. Because sometimes as people are like, oh my God, it's going to change. It has to change radically in another direction for it to come back to center.
Ooh.
So
what do you think that's going to look like?
I think that's going to look like there will be businesses that close, but that's like that with any industry. I think that it will hopefully. I believe in weed and weed culture still, which is that people will recognize that just coming together and being there for your friend, and what I call have some friends in your pocket that want to help you move. It's never fun to move, but if someone's going to come and help you, that's a real friend. So I think that, like, in terms of business, obviously we're all here to make money. We're here to grow companies. We're here to employ people. We're here to provide succession planning. But at least keep the product. You'll see the product actually get better, because a lot of the bigger things will not be able to exist. I think. I don't know. I could be completely wrong.
No, I think
but that's what I hope.
You're starting to see
that's
that
what
already.
I hope to see, just a shrinking.
Massive gardens that are pulling down, 100 pounds every week and stuff. That's a lot of product to move a mediocre flower.
Yes, it is. Especially when lots of, just so much, there's not that much room for booth.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, as they haven't 3,000 licenses for indoor mixed light. Only 300 have renewed.
Ooh. Wow.
So I'm not saying that they've all stopped growing weight in Cali. Mm-hmm.
That's a rough number right there.
So that means, 2,700. I mean, I would say maybe 15-20% of that's probably still going to pop out another run or whatever they're going to do. Right.
Even that, though.
But even that is an enormous, we're not going to plant this year.
It's like 20%.
And then my brother-in-law that owns Salt in Arcata, he lives up there, and a lot of farmers up there, up in Humboldt, have not planted this year. But they're still, I mean, the restaurant's awesome. They're still killing it.
But they're holding out in full sun.
So your brother-in-law owns Salt?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dan
I've ate there
and
many
Pam
times.
Willie. Shout out.
Wow. I'm a name drop next time I'm up
You
in
did.
there.
You
so
did. Oh,
make
they're
sure
going to. They're going to
know what
treat
I'm
you
saying?
with.
Especially with Biggs.
Yeah, let me know, man.
You know, you get Biggs up in there and lay
What
it
is?
down.
I'm guessing it's a fire seafood spot.
Yeah, in Arcata.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
love it. You got to be from the culture up there then to know
You
about
what I'm
that.
saying?
Dude, that's
You
culture.
know?
There's campground too. They have that. It's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
hmm
What was it like the first time you ever went to up there to Humboldt, Mendocino, that area?
Okay, so I had no idea. Like I had I'd done some interesting business when I was really young, where you go onto a farm and the grandma's there with the gun, you take all your clothes out, whatever. Not everybody, but I'm sure a lot of people have been what we call going up the hill. I never went back after that. So
To see
just,
Bill.
yeah, just see exactly. So it was like man versus wild out there, dude. For real. I'm not gonna
versus- went to Murder Mountain?
Yes, dude, it was. But I will say those people really know how to take care of their own. Like in a good way too. Like they really support their small businesses. Like let's put it this way. A lot of people have made a lot of money. They're they're gonna be just fine. You know, and
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
them actually didn't get involved in the wreck situation at all. They're like, yeah, I'm not gonna make that leap. I'm good. And that's fine for people too.
I think so too. I think full sun too. I mean,
That's
the
tough.
pack price has to be so low right now. I mean, is it even worth that? I can see
They
why
said they weren't getting 100 or 150, and it
Oh
was
my-
costing
150 a pound.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
yeah. I mean, what are you paying the trimmer at that point?
Oh my god, nothing. And that's
Yeah.
that is the. I mean, let me tell you,
It's probably going through a trimmer machine at that point. Yeah.
I'm always offering our trimmers like massages. I'm like, they should. Yeah, we
How
charge
do you
rate.
find good people?
I gotta say that's probably like my one gift. I have been so lucky. I can just see, because I'm kind of a dime in the rough. People usually didn't take a chance on me. I can see a lot of times through all the whatever, if people had gotten in trouble, I'm more than obviously willing to look over that type of stuff. So I can really see people that have talent, they want to grow, they're hungry for it, and placing them in a place where they can do that, right? So I'm so excited to tell people. I took somebody from $16 an hour all the way to $150,000 a year, and so within a couple of years, and so those people are really thriving and doing well. So I think that's just really important for Cam.
Hell yeah. I mean,
Feel the love.
you guys are crushing it out here. I mean, you stormed the beaches out here, literally.
What's your top seller out here? Like, what's the fan favorite?
So the Cushmans had a really good run. Last season we had La Paletta that had a really good run. I'm always trying to change it up. The Bubba's Girls, Girls is having a really good run. Yes, we grew Oreos and continue to still grow a little bit of Oreos.
Some Oreos.
Beautiful.
Talk about this mystery machine, Origins Unknown.
Yeah.
Oh, it is Origins Unknown. We got it from a nursery, and they gave us a 164.5. We don't know what that is, and we found one of them in the flower room and re-vegged it, and it was just so great. I think it's got a sherb thing going on, and definitely like maybe a sativa type action there. Yeah, something different.
It's
something
like a
different.
sweet purple
It's
sherb.
a sweet purple sherb.
Yeah, but
So,
it almost has a little cookie-ish to it. It's nice. It's very nice. It's got beautiful
it grows
structure.
different. Yeah, structure.
Gorgeous flower.
I'm even
phenomenal.
growing Scotty's RS11. I mean, there's so much different structure right now going on. It's fucking great, dude.
It is.
It's
The
really
weed
good.
industry's on 1,000. Do you like where it's all going one way, or do you think it's going the right direction? Like, what do you think with all the strains right now?
I think the strains are exciting, and I'm never going to say it's, but I really think that we need to go slow. I think that we're throwing stuff into the market that we don't have any idea what could have if someone's trying to build a company around it, or how it can harm, or just getting that consistency for product right now is so difficult. And it's even more difficult when we're expected to grow 5-6 different strains every single round, every room. As we become more monotonous in our bigger spots, and we only have maybe 3 strains in a room, that's where I think if we can nail scale, it'll work for us. Because since we are harvesting every 2 days, we will actually have a wider variety of menu that will be more consistent because they're from different rooms. Within a smaller amount of time.
Yeah.
So you can pair those menus together, I guess.
I love that oversight you have. Oh, quick question. Favorite nutrient company for straight fire flower?
Oh man, that's tough.
I know.
I'm gonna be hurting a lot of feelings.
I know.
I mean, I'm excited to try some new nutrients. Shout out for Drip. I'm excited to try new things.
Love it.
And
what about from your previous
House and Garden, dude?
I knew you were going to say
I was having House and Garden horror.
But people
terrible,
get on me
dude.
about not asking grow questions on they're like, why didn't you ask? You
House,
talked about.
I was
so I wanna,
House and Garden, and then I went through the canna phase and took a bath and Boost at $1,000 a gallon, but those 20 G's. I mean,
did you ever have one of those things that spins and sends off like waves into the garden?
Dude,
of
we did
like
everything.
energy?
We had energy water.
Yeah.
We had music playing. We had ionization of water.
How are the yields on the energy water?
Oh my god! Exactly, dude.
The biggest you've ever seen, bro.
It's just it's like
Crazy.
10 years before you had your bro being like, you know what I put in there,
bro science.
Yeah, I'm like,
Dude, bro science.
Specialty.
oh my
there was
goodness.
this thing that literally started to spin, and it was all triangles and rectangles, and they were like, it emits energy into the garden, and you'll have larger harvests. It's like playing music to your plants without playing music.
Oh my god! But I mean,
and
yes,
it's $5,000 for each one. And you would
and it could
randomly
only do
walk
so
into-
much square
Yeah.
footage.
I would walk into Heady Growers, and 1 out of every 10 grows, I'd see it in the corner. I'd be like, "You still use that?" And everyone would be like, "What a waste of," everyone would be like, "Oh," but they got it. The guy sold them.
We had iGrow. We had all sorts of versions of whatever led up to LEDs and
R&D though.
It
Takes that.
all the time.
Because what if you find the next thing? What if you use something and it's like, yo, look at the weeds, 10 times better.
It's so true. But right now we're on Athena, and it's good. JJ, I mean, dude, their
Great
service.
flower you guys are growing with
It's
it.
good. It's
Really
fine.
like it.
Lighting this runs right now.
Nice.
So talk about
Cam's
you
runs.
said you got lights down in Long Beach now.
Yep, just a couple hundred.
So have you been down here more?
Yeah,
Often.
but I was down here. I've been down here every week for the last probably a year and a half because most of our retailers are down here. We have a really good, strong presence in NorCal, but SoCal's where you build a brand, and that's where these stores are really, and we deliver everywhere from Humboldt to San Diego. It's been good.
How do you do that?
Lucky.
You deliver? So you have a delivery so people can call and they can
Well,
literally.
we have that, but I want to first talk. We distribute our own product.
Mhm.
So if I could give whatever, I'm not here to give advice, but if someone were to ask me what are you best way you're gonna take a brand off with your own flower is to do your own distribution, or at least have a really good distribution partner that just distributes your own flower. You have to be a certain size to do that, but it's really important that they're just selling. We have our own sales folks. And so that way they're just selling our product. There's something to be said about that.
I mean, people building brands with just distro licenses and being able to get a
Yeah, they
cultivator
are.
to grow product for themselves.
And I'm not here to knock any business model. I'm just telling you what feels most authentic for us. So that's where I come from, and being able to say that you have a hand in your own product and you stand behind it, good or bad. Believe me, it's not all perfect. We've had rounds that haven't been perfect, but just taking at least accountability for that and not being like, well, I mean, there's nothing we can do about it because we bought it from somebody, so it's technically not us. But having that pressure on you, I think helps us at least continue to try to grow better flower, continue to change.
Yeah.
I'm the slowest to change, obviously, because I'm not running LEDs, but
That's a good thing, in my opinion. I've done 3.5 years of R&D with LEDs, and I'm going back to HPS and, double-ended, whatever, DEs.
Yeah, DEs.
I personally think they're just better. I think it produces flower that's nostalgic. And I think people are used to that type of flower. And so now when we're trying to show them a more dense product and it's just different looking. And I, even as a smoker, I enjoy HPS flower or DE flower better than I enjoy LED flower. And I've had everyone's damn near LED flower at this point, because I say that and people give me their shit like mine's different, or I've had 100 different batches of it.
And some of it's good. Some of it's good.
I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just
It's
saying
different.
if I have to pick the same strain side by side, you're picking DE or HPS over LED.
For real smokers, I feel the same way.
What do you think, Pack Odds? I mean, this conversation comes up a lot.
It depends on what you're used to, for one. So that affects it.
What you're used to smoking?
Yeah, what you're used to preferring.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Sure.
Because you're saying this or that. That's what I'm saying. If you say this or that, then it's like
then you have
to go
choose
with what you're used to preferring. But you just seen patterns and trends, and I feel the same way. Like a lot of small batch stuff we talk about it. Yeah, it's definitely like HPS. So I think LEDs. It's still got some time.
It's still up and coming.
Yeah, and I think also too, it's like you said, like there's so many variables with it. I don't know if it's like, I don't know.
I think another 10 years have to go by, and I think that also a lot of different strains. When I look at where weed's going, so for us, when we started, maybe 10 strains, 11. You're always trying to get to either sour diesel or some type of OG Kush. Now there's hundreds of strains, in the thousands. And then on top of, we just get crosses. So we name our own strains, right? But we talk to the person that gave us the cut. We try to do kind of like kind of like Dave, where there's a blessing or, if you have a strain of somebody's, that you're asking them if it's okay that you can grow it and what you can call it. So I think that just some, housekeeping or manners of honoring the person that made it, or someone, keepers of the flame, that we still have that in cannabis for sure.
That's rare these days. That's dope of you. If there was one strain you could have back, what would it be that you've lost all time throughout your years?
I had this pure Kush, and I had kosher. I don't have either one of those. I don't have presidential anymore. I have the white.
That's a great one.
Yeah, Chrome's white
from Swamp Boy
Chrome's
Seeds.
White. Yep, from Swamp Boy Seeds. Original cut. Breeder's cut. Breeder's cut.
Yeah, straight from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was a banging strain. That thing was just iced out.
Dude, their seeds were we ran so much of their gear. Wild. They had such a good run. They really did. And still.
Yeah.
But when I was getting stuff then, when I was really trying to pop some stuff, it was good.
You think that original blueberry somewhere out there still?
Yeah. That and Afgooey. Somewhere is out there. Black Domina.
I have some seeds from Afgooey.
Yeah.
Chris had Palmer had a fucking thing that happened, but
I still have 92 OG. Damn, I still have
Black Domino. That's way throwback.
Dude.
15 years, right?
Yeah,
20 years you're talking?
That's
gnarly.
I know. I'm aging myself.
That was a hell of that was a well-known strain though, well sought after.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh, you heard that name and you're like,
Yes, and it would grow, and it would grow black
fruit.
leaves that would cover.
I think the original Purple Haze was something with Black Dominant, in my opinion.
Dude,
I've seen them; they look a lot alike.
Those all the Purple Urkel, all the Prebo 98s, dude. I mean, that just takes me home. It never grew that well. It's kind of short and squat, but it was so special. That weed was so good. So we'll probably bring, but tissue culture is helping. That's been good, I think, for the industry in general. When we all have problems, it's kind of spreads like wildfire. So I know that lots of farms have been hit by hops and, but I mean, that's part of commercial growing though, just so everybody knows. So powdery mildew, issues with pests, all those things. That's you just have to learn how to work through it with your team.
Variables.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. people don't, people that haven't cultivated before and don't understand the cultivation process and what's going on are unforgiving about it. Like, how could this happen?
Oh, it can
and
easily
it's like,
happen.
well, you're dealing with a live plant,
yeah.
which is like a live person. Sometimes they don't act like how you want, or sometimes things happen, or sometimes, and then you try to expand.
Your mechanical stuff is just going to break all the time. It's 113 degrees in Sac this summer. All of our stuff, you just had to, pray that your service people that you've been paying all year round are going to come out for you and fix your 25 tons and fix your 12 and a halves. And it's all part of that too. So just take 3 days of that. It's over. Your crop is over. Like, it's going to be stressed. It's going to, just depends on if you can get somebody out there to fix it in time.
Jeez. Are you going to have someone on staff full time for the AC at the new spot, the 2000?
Like 4 people.
Wow.
Yes, because that's how much air conditioners, and especially nowadays, if you don't, depending on the controllers, like think about it. You have a 25 ton and maybe 3 12 and a halves in a 100 light room, okay? And a ton of andins. What is going to tell you when something actually is broken? Once the temperature in your VPD starts moving around, it's already too late. That means the thing's already broken. So you have to have tools and technology to tell you, hey, look, this unit's out. So you're probably not going to notice it right now, but you will in like 3 weeks when you're trying to really pull the humidity out. It's different.
And you can. Now you have PM or other issues.
So what other issues? Just so many.
Detritus,
whatever. All of it.
It's booming. It's booming. I love good fresh weed.
Yeah,
you can taste the freshness on it. Great flavor.
What would you say to any females out there looking to start a business?
I just say go for it. I think that a lot of times you will, make sure you have a plan, but figure out along the way. I always say the same thing, which is you're not going to know how much you can handle until you actually try. So you're not going to know the scale that you can grow into. And your road might be a little up and down. One thing I can say that my experience is, for a woman in cannabis has been, amazing. All my mentors are men. All the people that I learned how to grow herb from, how to, run a business, working in software have been men. And so it's been really, and in SAC, all the homies came out to give me love and support. So I've been really, really lucky. So I kind of hope that we're going to continue to have that. I think that women for cannabis, it's like wide open. It's a new industry. So they're much more, I think, welcoming of women. And I think that from your executive standpoint, you got to have some women managers. We care about people more. We're a little more empathetic. We're not pushovers, but I feel like we can bring people together more. My motto is always that you work with me, not for me.
Absolutely. I think I've heard that before.
I've heard a lot of these key points from someone sitting to the right of me. Yeah.
That's funny.
No,
that's amazing.
It's boss talk is what it is. It's that talk of someone who's been there, done that, and built a business and empowered the people underneath them and empowered the people around them and built something bigger than them, and that's the underlining thing between both of you and I hear these same key points in life and in how to build a business.
Yeah. You're not always going to be able to live by, I'm not here to tell you it's kumbaya. Yeah. I'm not kumbaya every day and all zen. And, when things go wrong, I just like everybody else get, pretty upset, but it's about how you keep your cool and then rally your team back because they're probably not feeling that great either. So I think that for women that are starting businesses, and then don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. That's another big part of it, which is you're going to come to certain parts of your business that you can't do. And even if you could do it, you shouldn't do it because you're not doing it very well. So it's good at that time, if you can, get some help and partner up. That's how we're going to get through like these harder times. If you look at all farmers or look at any type of industry, they've lobbied themselves into a position that the rules are more lax, that good product wins out, that there is regulation and testing, but it's not so difficult. It's like stifling. So a lot of times when people are like, hey, there's more problems with the product on the market, it's because the taxes are just eating it up. and they're not able to reinvest into their spots.
I think it's like 32 to 37% of what you pay at the, for that eighth or whatever is taxed. Some crazy number like that. It's
actually. Well, that's just on the retail side. I mean, if you go all the way up, it's almost in the 60s. So after you get through 280E and all that, so there's not much left. So like I said, if you're growing weed right now, in general, anyway, whatever way you're growing it, it's not for the faint of heart. You got to really love it. You got to be really loving it right now to still go in there, because it's not making you the money that it used to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not making you stand out in the way that you used to. But if you really just love cannabis, like how it makes you feel and like the community, I think that you're going to stay in it.
Which is kind of a positive thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the people who are in it for the long haul that are the most passionate about it will survive, because that's what they want to do for a living, even when the tough times are tough versus times are good. So it's only the strong survive. So
right now it is. But I also feel like usually sometimes what happens here is that people will start something and maybe it doesn't go that great in the beginning. These are the folks that come back and build something amazing. That's what I've always noticed. So maybe some of the folks that have either had to call it, that's what I'm here to say. Even though you've been through kind of like a rough period with your career, with cannabis, you can always come back. And it depends on how resilient you are. So there's a lot of that. So I think that even if you're going to see people that are like, okay, I'm going to, either not plant or call it a day or whatever it is, they'll come back. And like, if they're, in like 2 years, because, the timing, it's all about when you want to bring your brand to market, the timing.
Do you think that's strategic?
Yes, I do. Some of it's strategic. I also think the faster you can get yourself in the game, the faster you're going to learn the pitfalls and be able to learn from it. So sometimes you just got to, jump in, feet first, just, see how it goes.
Yep. I mean, like Pat God says, half of the battle showing up.
Yeah, for sure.
Literally just showing up.
Yeah.
I mean, you got.
That's seriously.
If you didn't know, I've been around some business gurus for a couple times.
We're going deep,
isn't it though?
Just show
it's true,
up.
Though. Half of it's just showing up,
here,
man.
Man.
Just show up and get in line, man.
Show up.
Look, don't even worry about it. I'll just show up, right?
I'm just here, man.
I just work here.
Shout out to Walmart
General Store.
Yeah, I wore this because of you.
That one now.
Well, I wore this because of you, Anna. I was in Colorado a few weeks ago visiting my mentor. He still owns a business out there. Yeah, well, it just made good timing that there was like this crazy skate competition in South Park called the End of Summer Bummer.
Yes.
And I mean,
gajillions of people come down for that.
Dude, I get made fun of. Is crazy on the deck, man.
Nah, but we went out there and it's like it's a famous general store up in South Park. And if anyone's up in Breckenridge, South Park, or like up in that area, of Walmart. It's a dope spot.
Everyone
all the
knows.
Carhartt limited Carhartt gear, all the fire. But yeah, I was like, this will make a perfect podcast since you're coming on. And I was like, this is some heady Colorado shit. Like, if you know, Walmart.
I was just there, dude, for CannaCon.
There you go.
It was awesome. I was there with all the Canna guys, and it was like homecoming. People that I'd worked at the grocery store with. Oh man, it was good.
A lot of successful people now. A lot of guys that have built businesses and sold them off.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah,
absolutely, and that's okay too. And like I said, I think whatever your journey is, I think that you don't always have to plan it out that way. But I think that there's still a lot to be said in this story for weed in general. That
yeah, we're just getting started.
We're just getting started. We're so new.
Started.
Yeah,
Love it.
Just getting
Telling
started.
This story, man. We're about to take it way back, and then hopefully to find the future as well. This shit.
I'm in it, and to win it.
I love it though. Everything you got going on. I mean, you the way you enter the market out here is like you've been here before. So and you have. So it's cool to see a true pioneer, and especially just a female business owner, boss lady that's been putting on for the culture, the community,
thank you for
good
having
product
me.
for all the patients, all the people involved. So it's fucking awesome to see, and we've been I've been hearing about it for a long time. So it's real dope to see it here in California and watch it all come full circle, like years and years later.
A decade plus.
Because like my first Colorado trip with you, we went there.
Yeah.
And I remember I actually went there. So
that was way before any of this.
Yeah.
This was so long. And this was us just coming to Colorado. Like, have you ever been out there? Let's go check it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So real dope to see. And thanks for coming up today and making time for real.
Thank you so much.
I think it was really smart that you joined like the Sacramento community because it's not a lot of people know how tight knit it is up there, but the support's real and it makes it strong. Like Sacramento as it's in itself kind of moves as a unit because everyone holds each other up, and
really
it's cool to see. It's a different
vibe.
Yeah. There's like less blood in the water.
Yes.
I like that.
And then you come to LA and it's like war. So,
I think it's cool.
It's cool.
It's going to work better with community. The more that we can kind of come together and help each other.
Yeah. And it's coming there. It's getting there.
That's
it's
what
coming
I'm saying.
around,
People
because
are
hard
coming
times
around.
shake out,
a little
weekends
bit.
and build the strong ones. So
you're also going to shake out the folks that aren't really about the weed. They can't, they don't see don't see the numbers. They don't see the P&L. They don't see the balance sheet. You got to have some people that are going to, be on the ship with you. So
market's in a crazy place, and we talk more about that on the behind the scenes and shit. We always get into that on every episode. And if you don't know, now you know. Every episode we end up talking before the podcast, after, sometimes we eat dinner with people. I mean, it's all over the place, but all that goes on the behind the scenes. So if you ain't on the Patreon or the website, what I'm saying? Slipping. Same with if you want to see close-ups of the weed and you want to put our editor and our videographers to the test, bro, support us. And
man, if you need to DM Cody and we need more clips. We need better product shots.
We got a big list. So let's just say
you guys let them know for real, and make sure you CC me on the DM. And we're gonna get to the bottom of this. Yeah, send me on the forward.
CC a DM
group message. You know what I mean?
Well, dude, it's fire. Everything smells like it should. Everything tastes like it should.
We're keeping all this.
All about the team. Thank you, dude. Thank you, my dudes.
Happy to see you out here crushing.
Keep putting on and shit. Any last shout outs? Put you on the spot.
Oh man, my crew, for sure. I think I've mentioned a bunch of them. Brandon, Mike, George, Lynn, Sarah. It's been good. Josh.
Cam's doing it, man. Definitely support a real contender, lady.
California market.
Boom.
Any plans to go back MSO?
So we're talking to folks that maybe will put us in a couple stores in Colorado, and New York. But like I said, it's really, really hard to manage quality control from just because of how many rounds can go bad and grow. And they just can, it's so many factors. So I think that we still need to build our process and people in progress out here. And that's really what's going to help us win.
It's a hands-on thing.
Boom.
Cultivation.
Shout out Athena.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, you already know, man. First smoke of the day. It's episode 67. Anna from Cam. Let's go. We're out.
Thank you.
Yo, welcome to the Diamond Mine. The diamondmine.la, California source for boutique genetics. Powered by yours truly, Blackleaf. And you know what that means? That means I'm bringing my best genetics into this. I'm bringing stuff I've been hiding, harboring away, stuff I haven't wanted to let out. We're bringing all that into the diamondmine.la, and we're going to offer that to California. Go on our website, hit the newsletter, and see if you can rock with us. Get on board with some of our genetics and change your garden. The diamondmine.la, powered by Blackleaf.